and gentlemen, hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I am Mr. Warren Hayes, and it is October 24 of the good year 2019. This year that, when you think about it, this year is coming to a close. We're not quite at the end of it yet, but we're inching ever so closer to the end of the year. I hope that doesn't depress anyone. For a guy like in my case, I can't wait to get a fresh new start, have a brand new perspective on 2020. Maybe this is why I'm talking about the end of the year when we haven't even passed Halloween yet, Warren. What the hell? How is everybody doing tonight? I say tonight, and I'm talking to people because I record the Mr. Warren Hayes Show live. Live, I tells you, every Thursday night, right here. I don't know why I didn't think of it. Right here on YouTube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. That happens every week right here. And I record live. It's a live stream that you can come and join, such as the good people who have decided to join us this evening, such as Caleb Smith, Carlos, Dave Pozevsky, the good guy Dave is here, folks. Robert Larry is here as well. Benoit, we've never been so far apart. Benoit. We have Chris, who's here as well. Nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. Michael Stepney's here. We have Joe Anthony, who is here as well. Zachary Shiloh. We also have, look at that, JPQ. You know it's a special evening when John is in the chat of the No Particular Angle podcast. Mr. Freds is here as well. Ryan Smith. Richard Storm. I mean, what is this? It's a packed house. This is legitimately a packed house. This is fantastic, and it's always a good time. It's a great bunch of people, fantastic chat. If you ever do have the chance to pop in and join a live recording of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, you will jump in and talk wrestling with some of the friendliest, most knowledgeable, open-minded wrestling fans out there. I pride myself on that. I pride myself on the people who come hang out. You guys are all fantastic. And gals! Don't you forget the gals. But I do appreciate it. Thank you very much for being here. And if you're watching here live right now, send the tweet out. Get some more people in here. It'll be fantastic. It's always fantastic to have more people around, especially when I don't have hair in my face. There we go. And like the video. YouTube likes that. And then if YouTube likes it, I like it because it helps grow the show. It helps grow the show. And even if you're watching on demand, you can still do that. That's a fantastic part of it. You can still just like and thumbs up the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, why don't you just drop a subscription? And that will make me happy as well. You know what else might make me happy is if you listen to it in a podcast format, because the Mr. Warren Hayes Show is available on all podcast applications out there. So you just search for the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. It should be there. If it's not, you send your boy Warren a tweet or something, and I'll look into it because it's supposed to be everywhere. But I thank you all very, very much for being here. Jeff Peters, J.S. Brown, it's good to see you guys. Thank you, and welcome to this wonderful evening of chats we're going to have. Last week, I'm in America, by the way. I'm in the United States of America. I had made the trek last Friday. Was on a plane last Friday evening, traveling all the way over to the Midwestern United States. And I'm having a fantastic time. I'm hanging out with my girl, Kristen. She not only are we hanging out, she's very graciously accepted to host me in her home, which is something that at face value you don't know exactly what you're getting yourself into. But she's learning, and we're having a good time. So I'm leading into this because last Friday I didn't do the post SmackDown show over on Fightful, but I will be doing it tomorrow. I'm back on that beat tomorrow evening, right after Friday Night SmackDown. Be sure to join Sean Ross Sapp and I over on the Fightful YouTube channel for our post-show recap. Those are always a blast. And then it will be heading back into next week, then next Wednesday for the Wednesday Night Wars again on Fightful, then back for another episode of MrWarrenHayes Show. I'm a busy guy. I will be returning back to Canada eventually. But until then, I will continue enjoying the United States. I will continue enjoying the presence of Kristen Ashley to the max that I can, and I will also continue enjoying the culinary exploration that I have undertaken here since for over the past couple of days. If you do follow me on Twitter, you have realized, that I decided to reach out and go try out some Taco Bell. Now, this to me was a big deal because there's no Taco Bell where I live. In my hometown, it just doesn't exist. I've never had Taco Bell. Yet, television is bombarded with Taco Bell commercials. You have comedians constantly making jokes about Taco Bell. Online, there are constant conversations about Taco Bell and what Taco Bell is and what it entails. So I always felt left out. A severe case of FOMO has been going on for years. So yesterday, tweeted out that I was going to have Taco Bell. Got a bunch of suggestions from folks who were gracious enough to suggest things, their own favorites and what I should avoid and so on and so forth. And under the guidance of Kristen, we got a nice big meal. Got a few things that I could taste and try out, and I made a video out of it. Well, Kristen and I made a video. She helped quite a bit, did all the camera work. It was fantastic. Put it all together. If you want to check it out, it's on my YouTube channel as well. But maybe not now. Let's hang around for the stream. Let's hang around for that. So my culinary, but go check it out. It was a good time. And as it turns out, tonight we are having. Thank you very much. We are having Buffalo Wild Wings this evening. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Kristen Ashley.
Bon appetit.
Merci beaucoup. Her disembodied voice just brought me the hot buffalo wings.
Do you need help identifying which is which?
Well, yeah, just tell me real quick, just to make sure. Here, look, I'll even put them up to the camera. And I just got because that's what we're having today. That's what I'm trying out. Another thing that is not around my neck of the woods, Buffalo Wild Wings, which was suggested on whatchamacallit, Twitter, that I should try it out. So I'm gonna pop these over here. Kristen, if you wouldn't mind telling us.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we have onion rings. That's fine.
Right. Those are onion rings.
Yes.
This is Parmesan garlic here.
Ooh.
We have the buffalo mild.
Okay.
Honey barbecue, and then your jammin' jalapeno.
Honey barbecue right here.
Yeah.
And jammin' jalapeno.
Right.
Or ham and jalapeno.
Right. As they say. French Canada. And then that sauce.
Yes.
That Southwestern sauce.
Southwestern. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's very kind of you.
You're so welcome.
Yes. So I'm actually getting instead. So I'm actually going to go ahead and taste them here live as we go along. But I think I'm going to start right now because I mean it's kind of embarrassing. I'm salivating at the mouth like some kind of creature from the deep. Creatures from the deep. I'm going to try the garlic parmesan to begin with, if that's okay. That's right. And they're boneless chicken wings as well. Try not to chew directly into the to microphone. This is pretty good. I'm a big garlic parmesan guy. This is pretty good. Dip it in the southwestern sauce. It's okay to double dip, right, when it's your own sauce? Isn't that right, chat? This is actually really good. It's not, I like garlic. Man, I love garlic. I put garlic in just about everything. All right, that was pretty good. Apparently the onion rings are something special as well, right? And Ryan Smith, I don't know if Kristen can hear me right now, but Ryan Smith in the chat is confirming that we made good choices. And Jace Fan says, nice job, Warren. I'm hungry. Well, just pop your head in the fridge and pull something out. Or just run over. J.S. Brown, how you doing? Disembodied voice. Is Kristen a ghost now too? No, she was right. She brought things over. She was holding them. No, she's not a poltergeist. It's all right. Joe Anthony Tree saying I'm unprofessional because I'm eating during the podcast. Now, hang on. And so what's special is I set this up here this evening to do that. This is actually really good. The wings are good. Okay, so we're off to a great start. Very good start. So since we're off to such a great start, why don't we continue on then with with tonight's edition of the WWE Inspection. Yeah, there we go. And to start off the WWE Inspection, I'm going to take a bite of this onion ring, which I've been told. Oh, thank you. Kristen just left me some antacid.
You'll need it.
She says I'll need it. She told me I'd need it for the Taco Bell as well. And I got to tell you, I'll just leave it as such. I won't do a deep dive into my post Taco Bell experience. But that is part of the conversation. I didn't have much of an issue. With anything related to my post to a post Taco Bell world. Everything was fine. So maybe everyone is just weak constitutions. All right, let's get this started. Let's get this thing going. WWE Inspection. We're gonna start out by giving some cool beans. And we're going to give these cool beans to, let's start with SmackDown, because I didn't end up watching SmackDown. Of course. Far would it be from me to sit here and tell you good folks talk about things that I don't watch. Who does that? We're going to start giving cool beans. We're going to give cool beans. Very basic, but it's always fun to not destroy your homemade set here. But it's also more important to point out every time that we have the occasion to say, hey, you know what? WWE, you started with the match, and that is cool. I will never complain when WWE starts with the match. I will never complain with that. And especially when it's Roman Reigns versus Shinsuke Nakamura, I thought that was a very, very good way to start the show. And a fun match, which I don't think we've really seen in the past. Anyway. I really like Shinsuke's counter of the Superman punch when he grabbed Roman Czar into a flying armbar and then into a triangle. I really dug that. I also like the idea of Roman challenging for the IC title. I feel that gives a little extra oomph, right, to the title in and about itself. Having Roman going up for it just adds a little something. I liked it. Shinsuke also got one of his patented 2.9 kickouts from I think it was a Superman punch that it connected. Crowd was super hot for it. Corbin, of course, cost the match. Daniel Bryan came in for the save, which set up a match later on in the evening. You'd swear the spirit of Teddy Long is still very much with us. Shinsuke forgot, I think, during the beatdown, I think he forgot his spot where Sami Zayn was holding on to Daniel Bryan's leg against the ropes. And I think Shinsuke just completely forgot he was supposed to run in. And Kinshasa, the spot took a long time before actually coming together, I should say. And you could clearly hear the audible, like Shinsuke knee, you can clearly hear it. But this was a good match. Not only did they start off with a good match, not only did they start off with the match, they started off with a good match, and I can get behind that. That being said, I'm going to give another quick cool beans here for Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance. Shinsuke's entrance to the thanks to the new SmackDown set. It just got a crazy upgrade. It looks so badass from top to finish. With the lasers and again, like the tunnel that they set up and the effects they have going in it with the background, it looks crazy. It was really, really good. Speaking of really, really good, we're going to try this one here. The second one, which I think was honey barbecue. The second one. No, mild buffalo.
Orange.
It's orange, so. Of course, a little spicier than Parmesan, garlic Parmesan, but delicious nonetheless. All right. So we started off with some cool beans, a couple of sets of cool beans to begin with, but of course, folks, you know that can't last long. We have to move on to some hot trash at some point. And we're going to give it to Chad Gable. His inspirational speech, his decision to rename himself as Shorty G. Chad, let me know what you think. Sometimes I feel like I don't have a partner. Sometimes I feel like my only friend is the city I live in, the city of angels. Lonely as I am. No, it's not. Sometimes, though, I feel like and maybe I nitpick a little too much. Maybe I always scratch a little, maybe a little. And I don't know what they're doing with Chad Gable anymore. I just don't. I think they had, the short jokes were something, and I thought we would move on from that. But then it's become part of his, it's become more than just part of his gimmick. It's part of his identity, where he's like, all my life I was told I can't do it. I can't make it. But now I can if you believe in yourself. He's like a Daniel Bryan 2.0, but without all the natural charisma of Daniel Bryan. The thing is that this is not a knock, and I'm not saying that Chad Gable is uncharismatic. I've said it before on the show. I'll say it again. Literally, Chad Gable is a modern day Kurt Angle. He has the charisma. He can act tough or use great comedy timing as well. He has great comedic timing. He can cut good promos. We have seen him do that in the past. He is outstanding in the ring. He's a former Olympian himself. They have all the tools here to pull the trigger on their next Kurt Angle, but instead they're going down the underdog route because it would seem that it's the only way they know how to build baby faces anymore. And the whole Shorty G thing, like I wasn't sold on Shorty Gable, but it kind of grew on me where I was sort of like, well, it's corny a little and he's kind of leaning into it. But Shorty G, man, now it just feels like he's trying too hard. Unless next week he comes out, in a basketball jersey, a FUBU basketball jersey with the, and then he becomes Doctor of Thugonomics 2.0. Then maybe the Shorty G thing has something here. But I don't like it, and I didn't like the inspirational speech. Not that it's not a good idea, not that we shouldn't be having inspirational speeches. That's not the thing. But you could tell that it was forced. You could tell that Gable this isn't material he's comfortable with. And it's one thing for creative to push their stuff on superstars and say, this is what you're going to do. But at the same time, you have to lean into the strengths of your superstars. And I don't think being an inspirational good guy is exactly Chad Gable's scene. Jason PS3 says, I feel like choking out the person who made this stupid gimmick. Zachary Shiloh says, WWE is stupid for Shorty G. They say they're anti-bullying bogus. Mr. Fred says, Gable will never hold a title with that name. I want to say hi to Bob Aruski and Vape Ross Vape, who says that he loves his brother, Kenny G. Benoit says might as well call him Shorty D. John says they should put him in 90s threads and call him Shouty G. That's pretty good. Christian says we should call him Lil G. I want to say hello to Cal W95. Welcome to the chat as well. And Joe Anthony says, if Gable comes out wearing FUBU anything, I will die from laughter. Then they'd probably do it seriously as well, and that'd be the problem. So, yeah. That's pretty much it. I mean, SmackDown was okay this week. I found that the previous weeks were a little. I didn't like SmackDown since it started on Fox. I thought that this week was the first week where they actually catered back to their fans, where they were actually doing like WWE stuff for WWE fans. Let's move on to another cool beans, and we'll even move on to Raw. I'm gonna give a cool beans to the fun that Ric Flair was having cutting his promo on Monday night. Sure, we're starting the evening off with a promo, but you could tell Flair was having a lot of fun. He was trying to stay on script. He was ready to go off the rails. You could tell that he was just this close to just like boop, completely flipping the script. But I liked it. I liked it just because he seemed to be having the time, maybe not the time of his life, because he's had quite the life. Don't think one promo constitutes the time of your life when you're Ric Flair. But no, he was having a good time. And that made me like it, guys, gals. Gonna give another cool beans to most of the wrestling on Raw that night. I thought that we were treated to a very competitive evening of Raw. Ricochet versus Drew McIntyre was real good. Andrade versus Sin Cara was real good. I think my only qualm with the match was that Zelina Vega was needed for Andrade to defeat Andrade. No, sorry. Zelina Vega was needed by Andrade to defeat Sin Cara. There we go. Where Sin Cara is. Thank you. Kristen's making sure that I stay, that my Alzheimer's doesn't take over this evening. Yeah, because Sin Cara is he's a job guy. If we're just talking amongst ourselves here. Why would Andrade, who they're building to be a star, need Zelina Vega to defeat fucking Sin Cara? It doesn't make sense. But again, I know it's a nitpick. It didn't ruin my entertainment, my enjoyment of the match, but still, it's a nitpick nonetheless. Seth Rollins versus Humberto Carrillo was great. Despite the fact that I still don't see what WWE management sees in Humberto Carrillo. And guys, I'd like to get your feedback on, talk to me in the chat about Humberto Carrillo. I'd like to get your feel about him. Because I've been watching him for a while. When he popped up on NXT, didn't stay there very long. Ended up on 205 Live fairly quickly and was getting a big push before he was drafted up to Raw. Clearly, they see something in him that your boy doesn't. He's a good worker, and I'm pulling that, I'm pulling the reins on it a bit because I don't want to say he's bad and he's above average, but for the style that he does, I think he's still he's a little rough. He looked good against Rollins. I think Seth has that capacity to get good matches out of people. I really do. And I mean, if WWE wants to add more Latino talent to its roster, which is apparently something that Fox wanted, which is odd because Humberto was drafted to Raw. But you know what I mean. WWE wants to add to their Latino talent. To me, Raul Mendoza, who's been with the company in NXT and developmental for a long time, and well, at least since the Cruiserweight Classic, plus he's real good. Like, Raul is real good. And then you have Angel Garza, or Angel Garza, who is related to Humberto Carrillo. Angel is fantastic. He is incredible. Plus, he has an it factor that Humberto doesn't have. as much as they try with Humberto, there's something, he's a bit of a charisma vacuum. He's a handsome dude. He's got a big smile. They keep telling us about his dimples. It's fine. But dimples will only get you so far. How much can dimples push up your ceiling? Will Humberto Carrillo be world champion due to his dimples? That is an actual question I'm putting out into the world. But I'm just saying that Garza has a very natural way to connect with the audience. His charisma flows much easier, and he's really, really good. He is fantastic in the ring. I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of Angel Garza. And again, like I've been watching Humberto for a long time. But he's not, I don't know, he's just not making it happen for me. Mr. Fred says, I hope they don't do Humberto Del Rio, but he's got the look to be a great Mexican heel. I'm having trouble. What's going on here? Oh, there we go. Okay, we're good. Kristen says, what's my favorite gimmick? What was your favorite gimmick, Kristen? Sorry.
Firing Jam.
Oh, Firing Jam. Yes. Unfortunately, you can't do it anymore. What's that? Oh, you can still fire him till the end of the year. That's true. Soul is here, by the way. How you doing? I'm kind of thinking Humberto being pushed hard. They're doing the same thing that they did with Lacey. And MJ's fan calls him the Dimples Champ, which is pretty good. And Benoit says Humberto looked like a Power Ranger and was nervous as hell during his promos. His promo, that's a good observation, Ben, because his promo that he cut, he was this close at some point to doing I'm going to do lucha things. He was this close. But good on him. He kept his cool. The other part of this match here, I want to talk about Seth as well. And guys, gals, I know you have a lot of opinions regarding Seth Rollins, and we're going to try the honey barbecue. We start as well. I'm usually not a fan of honey barbecue wings. It's really good. They were Kristen's choice.
They were, naturally.
So, Seth Rollins. Do you guys feel a heel turn? Do you feel it? I kind of feel they're starting to lean into the crowds turning on Seth. I really do. I kind of had the impression that we're slowly inching our way to there. Right now, the match that he had was good. He wasn't acting it as an outright heel, but you could feel him leaning more into the edge that the Seth Rollins character is supposed to have. You know, and when he stepped out of the ring with his title and got back into the ring to confront, eventually like to shake Humberto's hand, I was like, ooh, is he going to deck him? Is he going to plaster the belt across his face? His handsome, smiling, dimply face? But no, he didn't, which I think was a good idea because part of this match was to establish Carrillo as a star, and I don't think that it would have been a smart move for them to do that. Since Hell in a Cell, I still maintain there was a double turn that happened last night that WWE hasn't fully embraced yet, or have they? And are we going to get a slow burn Seth Rollins turn? They did take him out of the Team Hogan versus Flair match at Saudi Arabia Blood Money Fest. They took him out of the babyface team. To me, that's a sign. I think that they might be over the next couple of weeks, or at least it's next week. We have one more Raw, right? And then it's crown thingy. I'm curious to see where they're going to go with this, but I feel like there's something happening to Seth's character here. Mr. Fred says slowly, but yes, slowly. He thinks that they have cold feet. Soul says Seth really does need this heel turn. The whole thing with Bray pretty much planted the seeds, even though it means salvaging this Fiend situation. Michael Stepney says Seth is showing some heel-ish qualities lately. It would be welcome for him to. It would be a welcome change for him. And Kristen Ashley, to wrap it up, says he won't survive a Becky Lynch ordeal with WWE. She got herself out of that mess. He wouldn't be able to. That is true. That's an excellent point. I completely concur. It's not just because she's right here staring at me, and that she could probably launch things at me if I disagreed with her. It has nothing to do with that. Well, there we go. Moving on from some cool beans to some hot trash, and I got a couple of those. We're unfortunately gonna end out on a little negative note. But that said, I thought Raw was pretty good. Like I said, there were a lot of good matches there. There was a lot of competitive matches. But you know what kind of matches we didn't have? Kristen, what kind of matches did we not have on Monday night? Didn't have a single women's match. And on top of that, not only did we not have a singles woman match, there were no women wrestlers there as well. The women were not featured in any way. Oh, Zelina she was there as a manager, a valet, whatever you want to call it. That she was not there as a wrestler. She did not perform. Alana was there. Yeah, Alana. We'll talk about that in a second. I'm not going to get into it too much. If you want to hear my full rant on it, it's about 15 to 16 minutes. It's available on my Patreon at Warren Hayes, Mr. Warren Hayes, patreon.com/Mr. Warren Hayes. God damn it. Yeah, I had a lot to say about it. But here's the thing, and like I said, I don't want to get into it, but there is one point, the main point that has to be put across here. Because I've been told, I saw all the arguments, guys, gals. Regardless of what you're going to tell me here, I've seen them all. Oh, Becky was over on ESPN doing PR. She was part of a panel. Sure, okay. Because WWE decided to send her there. We're okay on that, right? I mean, it's not ESPN that, like called the cops and said, hey, you have to send us Becky Lynch, or like, no. It's like there was a decision that was made by WWE to send her there. And it was told, oh, well, half the roster was over in Australia. Okay, fine. Okay. Half the roster was pretty much over in Australia doing matches, and the majority of the roster that was sent was composed of Raw women. You had the Kabuki Warriors, you had the Iconics, Charlotte. They were all there. Granted, half of the roster was there. So the other half was still in America. Oh, okay. Oh, here's another argument I heard. Oh, Natalya and Sarah Logan, they fought on main event. Right. So WWE decided to put the women's match on main event. Okay, cool. Everyone giving me excuses as to why there were no women on Raw, as if there was these forces of nature, these series of events that no one could control, right? That suddenly, because of all these extenuating circumstances, we can't have women on Raw. However, what we have to remember here is that WWE made all these choices. They chose to send Becky to ESPN. They chose to send a substantial amount of the Raw roster to Australia. And they chose to put Natalya and Sarah Morgan on main event. And they said, fine, no women's matches on Raw. Fine. Had there been a sinkhole that opened under the hotel where the women of WWE were all residing and they were all swallowed up into the sinkhole. And maybe you're like, yeah, you know what? I can understand. Sure, WWE was in a really, they were in a pickle. They were in a legitimate pickle. Full on garlic brine pickle. Deep in it. But this wasn't the case. You can't come out and apologize for WWE for making these choices. This was a choice, and they decided to go on with the show without women. And we're a year into the Evolution pay-per-view, where everything has changed. Like I said, I don't want to get into it too much. I feel like I already did. Thank you, Kristen. But that it's just a thought I want to leave onto you. That I want to leave unto you all. And we do have women's wrestling advocates here, like John, who watches Stardom quite a bit. And there's the good folks over across the pond, Pro Wrestling Eve, who do fantastic work, and whose fantastic work is bleeding over into other promotions. There's a lot of women's wrestlers who wouldn't be where they are today had it not been for their excursions in E. Benoit says, meanwhile, NXT had great women's matches. Sure. I'm not complaining about NXT. There could be more, but I kind of feel like I don't want to lower the bar. I don't want us to be like, well, there were no matches on Raw this week, but Rhea versus Bianca was really good. Yeah. Regardless, it doesn't change anything. The folks on Raw decided to have a womenless show, and that to me is big up weekoo. So there we go. Another hot trash. Since we're talking about how to use women in WWE, another way that we're going to talk about women being used in WWE is the cuck angle. It's stupid, it's dumb, and it hasn't been advancing. It hasn't been.
They asked for it.
Who asked for what?
They asked me to throw something at you.
Who?
Jam and others. Well, Jam actually asked me to throw chicken at you, but I'm not gonna waste food.
Why don't? Can you put Jam in timeout? Look, I'll leave it into your very capable hands. I'm gonna go back in the logs and I'm gonna find out who asked this.
Just ribbon.
Oh, this is a rib?
No, it's just ribbon.
Oh, I thought you said they're just ribbon.
I was so angry at what you're about to talk about that I threw ribbon at you.
You're angry that I'm gonna talk about the cuck angle? Well, yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I won't go so hard on everyone then.
I'm a woman of the people.
Yeah, I know. The cuck angle sucks. And don't mistake the last few weeks as storyline progression. It's not. Over the past few weeks, it's always been the same thing. We see Lana and Bobby Lashley doing stuff on a Titantron, and Rusev has to watch. That's all that's been happening. Only this week, they go to a restaurant, and somehow Rusev knows what restaurant they're at, and then he goes in and he beats up Bobby Lashley. Look, the only saving grace. And then on top of that, they do this in an episode of King's Court with Jerry Lawler. I'm going to tell you one thing, guys and gals. If there's one person in the world that I know I will not take moral cues from, who will not be my moral compass, it's Jerry the goddamn motherfucking King Lawler. I can tell you that much. And the only saving grace of this entire scenario, quite frankly, was Rusev calling Bobby Lashley Bob Lashley, which is hilarious to me. I think it's funny, and it is the most Rusev thing to do, and I like to do that myself. So I feel a kinship with Rusev on that level. Do you guys feel that they're recycling the cuck angle from the Canelicises now that Mike is probably in the doghouse and they won't put him on TV anymore? They'll have him wait out his contract. It is so stupid. There's nothing here. There's absolutely nothing here. It is dull, and it's insulting, and it's like, It's just trash. It's hot trash. There you go. And it will keep being hot trash until something legitimately interesting happens. And then, to finish this off, the final bit of hot trash I'm going to give out is to the Street Profits debut. And guys and gals in the chat, I want your thoughts on the debut of the Street Profits. I feel I might be going a little too harsh on them. But then again, because I like the Street Profits. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. NXT Profits are much better than Raw Street Profits. They really, really are. They're better in the ring. They're more personable. Their promos are more interesting and not as much nails on chalkboard. You know, they could already be ruining Montez Ford, who has all the tools to be a superstar in WWE. But for all the weeks that we saw them on TV being the Greek chorus, wrapping up, you know, the events that just happened before our eyes 5 minutes ago, and then right into this junk this week where they put them in the ring and with a mystery opponent, and okay, who's the mystery opponent? We don't know. The mystery opponent lets them fight the entire match 3-on-2. He never comes out. It's not very clear. Was this part of the plan? It's a weird plan if you're going to have your partner only come out after the match is kind of wrapped up. I don't understand it. The match itself wasn't that great either. It was okay. But I think like the whole question of who's the third partner, who's the third man basically, just threw everyone off, deflected the attention. KO comes out, everyone goes nuts. But the Street Profits then they sort of become a secondary thought here. I don't get it. I don't get it. You'd think that with all the buildup they had, they would have just let them go nuts, but they weave this thing in here. And to be perfectly frank, well, you know, I'll be Warren. You know what I mean. The KO AJ Styles thing. Look, I will be the first to say that probably outside of his friendship with Chris Jericho, the greatest moment of Kevin Owens' WWE career was being the new face of America. That was astounding work on his part. That was so good. So to have him go back and fight for the US title, I think is great. But his feud with AJ Styles wasn't all that good. Maybe now that the roles are reversed completely, you know, AJ's the heel and KO's the babyface, maybe we'll get something different. But I'm not too excited about it. But you know, AJ Styles, Kevin Owens, at face value, it's worth something. Anyway, let's see here. Let's see here. Robert Larry says, of course, we're in the WWE. Just switch people with this angle. Talking about answering my question earlier about whether or not they're just moving the cuck angle around. Jason PS3. Did I say hi to you, Jason? I don't remember. Hi if I didn't. And you consider, or otherwise you're saluted twice. It's a win-win. He says the angle is scorching trash. Yes. Joe Anthony says that he didn't mind Street Profits match, their debut as a solid. He thought it was a solid tag match. It was the fact that KO was late to his own match that was the problem. Daniel Price, by the way, how you doing? Well, he says first it was advertised all night as a 6-man tag, but then they called the audible. As far as the Profits themselves, still too green to be main event. All of it just for an Owens reveal. Yeah, there you go. What am I saying? John says this is biased commentary. Of course, the Canadian in the USA would be rooting for the Canadian vying for the US title. Look, my allegiances are my own. All right, it's just yeah. We're gonna close up the WWE inspection. How about the spiciest wing that I have right now in my on the plate is the jalapeno. What is it? Jalapeno? Jammin' jalapeno. Jammin' jalapeno.
Was it named after Jam?
Was it named after Joe Anthony Myrick of dailyddt.com?
And Bells Bells.
And belltobells.com. BELLTOBELLES. Ooh.
Can you fix your bangs?
Hmm?
Can you fix your bangs?
Are my bangs bothering you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A little funny on camera.
Thank you. Kristen is vying to become my...
Stick them in your hair.
Hmm?
There you go.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Kristen is vying to become my full-time manager.
Mm-hmm.
She'd get 10% off of everything I make. And what's cool is that 10% is zero, still zero.
Well, you make money outside of this, so.
Yeah, but it's not related to our man. Well, we haven't discussed the we haven't discussed the particulars of the contract yet, have we? You know what I've decided to do, folks, this week? I decided to do away with the show rankings that I started doing a couple of weeks ago, especially after this week. And I was like, you know what? There was good in every wrestling show that I watched, and I feel like putting them on a scale and saying, well, this one was number 8, and then this one was number 1, would just devalue everyone and everything. Because I watched a lot of stuff this week. I watched Raw and SmackDown, AEW Dynamite, NXT, NWA Power, AEW Dark, Bound for Glory, which I'm going to talk about in a bit. There was a lot of good stuff this week. And I think every wrestling show this week really was in a position where they all put their best foot forward. I think everything had something good to deliver. Were they all good from top to bottom? No. Monday Night Raw is a good example of that. But when it was time for wrestling, Raw was very, very, very good. SmackDown was, like I said earlier, I felt it was its best outing since moving to Fox. AEW this week, Dynamite had we're at 5 episodes now. Unquestionably, my favorite episode of Dynamite so far. It was fantastic from top to bottom. NXT was again bookended by great matches, but in there, woven within the NXT show this week, you had Matt Riddle versus Cameron Grimes, which was real good. It was a super strong match. It was a lot of fun. You should definitely check it out. It was one of my favorite matches this week. In fact, my favorite matches this week were Riddle versus Cameron Grimes. Let me think here. Mox versus Pac was amazing on Dynamite. The Bucks versus the Best Friends as well. And Private Party versus the Lucha Brothers. Kenny versus Janela. I love that Jamie Hayter was there as well. We're going to get into that in a little bit. AEW was extremely strong this week. I really like Michael Elgin versus Marufuji as well on Bound for Glory was so good. But honestly, this week was, or at least within a week of Warren Hayes programming, I thought it was, we had so much great stuff. And Dynamite this week really, to me, was Dynamite. I thought from top to bottom, it was the best show that they put on. The most even show, incredible stuff. Like, it's really the first must-see episode, like from top to bottom, including that fantastic angle with the Inner Circle. I thought it was great. And Chris Jericho holding his ticket, crying, I have a ticket. Oh, God, it was so good. One thing that I don't think is so good, though, about AEW. What a segue. Is it too early to start pointing out that AEW is bungling someone or something? You know how we have we have a tendency to do that a lot with WWE. You know, with The Fiend, for instance. A lot of us are saying, well, they're already screwing up The Fiend. And how many times have we said that about an NXT call-up? Bayley, for instance. Well, of course, they're going to bungle Bayley, right? I feel, I don't know if it's too early yet, but I'm gonna call it. I'm calling it. I think AEW currently we are witnessing their first bungle. I think we're right in it right now. Critical Sting, how you doing? I think right now AEW is bungling the Dark Order, or as they were known on the indie circuit as the Super Smash Bros. I really, really do. These guys started wrestling, I think, in 2006, 2007, something like that. And they are legendary on the indie circuit. And when they were called up to AEW, and I remember they were built to be a strong, unpredictable, dark force within the tag team division. You could clearly see that they were angling them to be top heels in the company. If we go back to their history, the Super Smash Bros. They've been tag champions in Chikara, in PWG, in Ring of Honor. They've been, like I said, they've been tag champs all the way around there. And they've wrestled all the top tag teams that were going around the independent circuit at the time, right up to very, very recently. The Bucks, Steen and El Generico, Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. They've won tournaments. They've been all around the world. They have the know-how and the pedigree to really be put up there as one of the best tag teams in the world. They debuted at Double or Nothing. Remember? The lights went out. They appeared, was at the end of the Best Friends versus Angelico and Jack Evans match. And the lights went out and they came back in, and you had Evil Uno was there with Stu Grayson, and then you had all their Muppets that were around them. And we didn't quite know who they were, right? You were like, until I think it was Stu Grayson who took off his mask or something and was like, hey, wait a minute. That's the dude from Smash Bros. But, you know, they didn't know who they were. They didn't identify them. It's like, hey, it's these guys. Of course, they couldn't use Super Smash Bros. On nationwide television. We understand that. The banhammer from Nintendo would fall so quickly upon them. They had to find another gimmick. But this was the gimmick they wanted to go with. And they did vignettes to try to get them over for us to understand. Who they were. And then they started building them really, really strong. Very, very strong. They defeated Jurassic Express at Fight for the Fallen. They defeated the Best Friends for the bye in the tag team tournament. They defeated Shima and SCU in an 8-man tag with Angelico and Jack Evans on Dark. They had a winning record. And then they get to the semifinals of the tournament. They lose. They're out of the tournament just like that. SCU defeats them. And I really feel that this is all on AEW. Because there have been problems. And I think the first problem is the gimmick. The gimmick's not good. Or at least its execution has not been good. I think this is one of these gimmicks where in creative's mind, like, yeah, this will be cool. You'll have the fat guy and the skinny guy, and the fat guy is going to be like this Taskmaster, this weirdo masked gimp master, like role reversal thing, and he's going to have all these subordinates that will form a throne that he can just command at will, and the other guy will just stand and look menacing next to him. You know, so, and then they go into the metaphysical stuff, but. The vignettes that they used to try and create the gimmick were extremely cringe. They weren't good. It was too corny. Kind of made me wonder why they decided to go this route. Why didn't they just lean in a little? Okay, get rid of the Super Smash Bros. Game. Name, excuse me. I understand why they couldn't keep it. But one of the things that made SSB so good and so entertaining on the indies is that they leaned into the video game references, and they always did it with a certain level of comedy without being an outright comedy act. But they were funny. They were able to point out the absurd in wrestling and just be a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge, but in a very, I wouldn't say subtle, but in a non-intelligence insulting way. That's a very roundabout way of putting it. So, and that's what made them endearing. That's what got people to like them. So I'm curious as to why they just didn't repackage them as, because that's the idea. The idea out of Super Smash Brothers when they formed, it was like, well, you have the fat guy and you have the skinny guy, and they do crazy ass impossible things in the ring, like when you're playing a combat sports, competitive esports game like Smash Bros or Street Fighter or shit like that. You have these characters who aren't supposed to be living in the same universe, but they're there. They're a team. They're working together. And we would have got it. It would have been an extension of the SSB gimmick. And I think that would have helped off. It would have helped from the get-go. Another problem that they had was the airtime that they were that was given to them. As I said, they were built to be a force. Cheaters, a powerhouse, whatever, but they were built to be a team that you needed to beat. They were a team that would be in a position to do whatever they needed to get a victory out of you. And they had a winning record, as I mentioned previously. But we didn't see them on Dynamite. There was nothing on that. And chat, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. But I do believe that the only vignette or Dark Order segment that we saw since the debut of Dynamite was on Wednesday night before the match. We haven't seen them at all. There was nothing to build them, nothing to make them credible or make them look good in the meantime, endear them to the audience. And I think that was a huge, huge, terribly big missed opportunity. That's a sentence. I really do. I don't understand why they kept them off of television, why they didn't build them gently, or why they just didn't start pivoting them away from the gimmick. I do recall either the Bucks or one of the Bucks or Cody, the American Nightmare, saying back then, just as AEW was forming and so on, something to the effect that, guys and gals, if a gimmick isn't working, if the audience isn't responding, we'll listen and we'll change it, we'll do something. Well, they didn't do much for the Dark Order. I'm pretty sure that they had positioned the Dark Order to win the tournament, be the big final boss legitimately of the tag team division, so that either the Bucks or Private Party, for that matter, could fight their way through the tournament, and then after that, challenge for the titles, have a good old fashioned tag team feud. But that's not what we got. I'm pretty sure plans change, and that's okay. Plans always change. It's just really weird. It's just strange on how they were built, pre-Dynamite era, and then when Dynamite starts, you just didn't see them. You didn't know, barely knew they existed outside of being mentioned. Like, they didn't even have to wrestle in the tournament on Dynamite because they had the bye. So why have the bye in the first place? I'm just saying. And the last problem I think that Super Smash Brothers had, and this is a problem for a lot of wrestlers in AEW, if you ask me, and it's commentary. JR has a tendency to not put over the talent or the storylines or his company, and will outright say what he thinks. And I will always remember when Dark Order, this is when it came clear to me that there was a problem with Dark Order. When they won the match for the bye, and the first thing that JR said he said something close to, well, Good on them. They won, but they still have a lot of work to do to be right up there in the ring. And I'm like, God damn, man. The team just won the match. These are heels. You should not be telling us, oh, you know what? Yeah, they're a little rusty. Not sure these guys are ready to be put in this position. And this is something that Jim does a lot. He does a lot of that. Where he's like, well, that was kind of odd. Like when he starts talking about Orange Cassidy. We get it, Jim. You don't understand Orange Cassidy. He doesn't understand it. He doesn't get it. But on Wednesday, he was semi-burying him because he doesn't understand the appeal of it. When you're a color commentator, your job is not to convey your opinion. Your job is to put over the story and put over the wrestlers, because if you put the story and the wrestlers over, especially wrestlers that are over, like Orange Cassidy, then your audience will continue tuning in, they'll get invested in it, and guess what? They'll start making money. Your company will make money because people will want to see these wrestlers that they like, instead of being told, you shouldn't be liking them. And I feel that's something that also affected the Dark Order. And it breaks my heart because I like the Dark Order, and I know that on a lot of topics, I'm a broken record. But here we go again. Stu Grayson is one of the best workers in AEW, and most of us don't even realize it yet. But he is fantastic. He really, really is. And at this point, I feel kind of bad that Dark Order is not working out for him. And I'm like, well, it's still early. Break him off. Give him a singles run. Put him in that awesome mid-card that you have. Let him have crazy-ass matches against Janela or Darby. It'll be amazing. So, that's what I think. I kind of feel that I kind of feel that that they're dropping the ball a little bit on our boys, the Dark Order. Let's see if we have a few. Everything Pro Wrestling, how you doing? Welcome to the chat. Oh, and CM Phil is here as well. Feels like old homie night tonight. Benoit says, I'm so glad that Private Party is coming to IWS in Montreal. AEW to the rescue once again. Just a little context here. NXT UK was supposed to send Mustache Mountain over to fight Tabarnak de Team, which is a very well-known local tag team. These guys are fantastic, and they'll probably be gobbled up at some point. They're extremely good. Two guys from Montreal, wrestle out of Montreal. And they were supposed. Mustache Mountain was supposed to go to IWS and fight the guys. Mustache Mountain disappear. NXT pulls them from the match. AEW steps in, and then we have Private Party who's going to join them. So that'll be really, really good. I was kind of hoping for Dark Order. That would have been a slapper, but yeah. Joe Anthony says if they're not, if they being the Dark Order, if they're not even going to the finals, it makes them getting a bye feel pointless now. Yeah, it feels pointless, and like I'm sure there was a change of plans. Kristen says they're just going to give it to the Bucks. John says Lucha Bros for the win, and he says Dark Order equals Yoshihashi times 2 per Warren. Wait, what? No. Let's be clear here. Whatever happens to Yoshihashi is Yoshihashi's fault. That's on him. Dark Order, what? Okay. I thought you were disagreeing with me. Yoshihashi, it's all on you. What's happening to you, my lad? Oh, I know he's watching. This big beady eyes. He does have big beady eyes. So there we go. Do we have anything else? Just going through the chat here. Zachary Shiloh says Dark Order is better than Yoshihashi. Of course, everyone knows that. Jeez, I'm better than Yoshihashi. What? That's true. That's right, Phil. Yoshihashi screwed Yoshihashi. How did this conversation derail onto that guy? I don't want to talk about him tonight. I'm in the United States. I'm having a good time. I have a nice plate of wings here. I'm down with Buffalo Wild Wings. Right now, if I were to... Well, it's two different things. Like, these are more like... It's finger food that we're having. Right?
Yeah.
More like, not an actual outright meal. But it's really good. I find it hard to compare with what I had last night with Taco Bell, which is much more substantial and so on and so forth.
I'm too excited. I'm in a shaky cam. The cam has been like...
Yes, I know.
Too excited.
I know. I'm very excited.
Yeah.
We'll put the... There you go.
My dad too.
By the way, folks, if you want to support the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, there's a few ways for you to do it. You can go on your YouTube application. You can give this a like. You can subscribe to the channel. That shit is awesome. If you're listening to this on a podcast app, you can give it a like, a review. A 5-star review is always cool. A little written review is even cooler. Or a like or a subscription there too. Whatever way you can show love there. And if you also want to show love, you can head on over to patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. Yes, I have a Patreon. You can contribute to it, and I give extra content there just immediately after. Well, maybe not immediately, but once we're done here, we're going to transition over to the Patreon, where I'm going to talk about Finn Balor and his heel turn and how this is fantastic. And I'm also going to be chatting about New Japan US, New Japan Pro Wrestling of America, which I think is also fantastic stuff. So come on over. Come check that out. That's it's a fun time. You got all sorts of content there. Going along. Okay, we're going to talk about Bound for Glory and All Glory to wrap this one up. Those are Impact events that happened this weekend. Bound for Glory, the basically Impact's WrestleMania that happened this weekend, their biggest event of the year, which was preceded the day before by All Glory, which is essentially a fan event where you can go do meet and greets, autographs, pictures with AEW stars, talent, but also be entertained by a plethora of local independent wrestling promotions who put on a show for your entertainment. It was streamed on Twitch, but Kristen and I, thanks to our mucho grande connections via Le Fightful,
My connections.
Kristen's connections
Zello Pro.
with Zello Pro. That's true.
Sean didn't do shit.
Okay.
Just kidding. That's a joke. Sean does everything.
But yes, we Kristen is in good with Zello Pro Wrestling, and we were able to attend, which was really cool. And it was a fun, really grassroots event. A delightfully messy fan event. You know, like it wasn't one of these polished, super produced Access, WWE Access kind of situations, or even like Starcast. Everything was very loose, open. The Impact wrestlers even hung around at the bar and stuff after their turns, and watched the matches down on ground level, which was cool. So you could run into people. I ran into Rosemary and I said hello, and she said hello. She was very nice. I had a moment and I chatted with Josh Matthews. It was really nice of him to do so, because he was producing the event and he was running around right and left getting shit done. And here I am saying, "Hey, my name is Warren. Yeah, hey, okay, nice to see you." Took the time to talk to me, and he said that this was something that they wanted to do. They wanted to they wanted to replicate the All Glory fan event for every pay-per-view that they do, so that the day before there's always something for fans. There's local talent that they have there, so that's fantastic. I thought that was really, 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 really great as well. It's a good plan moving forward. And there were matches from Zello Wrestling, from Revolver, Warrior Wrestling, and Black Label Pro who were there. We had some fantastic matches. One of my favorites was a Zello Pro match between guys. It was a 5-way. GPA, Brubaker, and yes, there is an S there. Isaias Velasquez, Bryce Benjamin, and Project Monix. They put on a banger of a 5-way. It was so good. These were guys that have crazy amounts of talent, but they're super charismatic at the same time. Like, these are polished wrestlers. And I'm like, they could be signed anywhere. They looked real good, and they all had very, very different character types. It all meshed well. It was fantastic. I love that match. There was a lot of great matches, but we also got to see Lainey Luck, who is the current Zello Pro women's champion, take on Shotzi Blackheart and Kylie Ray. Hot damn. We legitimately saw Shotzi Blackheart's last indie date, because she's going straight to the Performance Center in November. Kylie Ray was announced, I think, Kristen, the week before we went, and we were like, woo! Yeah. We got to see that, so that was cool. And it was a great match. And in the meantime, got to discover Ms. Luck, Lainey Luck, who's a unicorn for all intents and purposes. She's fantastic. Like, all these three women worked really well together. Shotzi's a delight. She's so good, and she's so confident in her wrestling style and what she brings. She was amazing. And it was so nice to see Kylie Ray wrestle. And I remember we were standing there, and at some point during the match, Kylie was doing such amazing stuff, and I just turned to Kristen and I said, she cannot not wrestle. She's just too good at what she does. She legitimately is a joy to watch, and she's sound. She's talented. She has it. She cannot not wrestle. She's too good for us as fans to stop. So we were thrilled to see her. And here's the thing that's really crucial that I need to point out, and that I'm going to end my sentences with an open inflection, just to make sure you think that I still have something else to say, but really I don't. But just to make sure I hold on to your attention.
Sounds familiar.
The women had not only the biggest reaction from the entire crowd the entire evening, and it was a good 4-hour event, right? We got there around 7. We were gone at 11. The 11, just finished a little after 11. Throughout the entire event, not a single match generated that much attention. Everyone popped like crazy to see Kylie, to see Shotzi. And there is not one match that had that much crowd reaction from the audience. What am I trying to say, folks? I'm saying the women are over. That's it. Book more women on your shows. And as much as I'm gleaming about what we saw and was how fun it was, guess how many women's matches were on the card? Kristen, do you want to fill the good people in? I don't think anyone heard you. One match. And I'm not the type to say, oh, well, at least the one match we got was good. Especially when you put the women in a ring and everyone turns to watch, and they have everyone glued to the match from start to finish. And people are, this is awesoming throughout the entire. Hey, there was even a chant at some point where you had, at the start of the match, you have all three ladies in the ring, and they're eyeing each other out, and they're just like, just getting ready to start. And there's a chant that starts. All these ladies, clap, 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 clap. Or all these women or something. All these women, clap, clap, clap. All these ladies. But then the chant changed to all these wrestlers. Clap, clap, clap. And then it became louder. I don't know. Like, at some point, I'm not a promoter. I've never booked a wrestling match in my life. But if I'm hearing the reactions that people are having towards a certain type of match, I'm probably going to try and book more of those. It's a mystery to me sometimes. I'm telling you guys, gals, it really, really is a mystery to me. But we had a nice time. It was a good, fun time put on by Impact. I like the fact that they were working with local promotions, and then at the very end, Ace Romero, AC, who was on Bound for Glory, he actually got his Impact contract that night after the main event of All Glory. Scott D'Amore went to the ring and offered him a contract, and he got all teary-eyed. And I know it was difficult to watch on Twitch, and we heard the stories, and we actually kind of saw it happen. And, you know, honestly, Josh Matthews was running ragged. And I know a lot of people gave shit to him when we found out that it was his phone that was streaming the event on Twitch and that he needed his phone back, and that's why the stream stopped after a while. And I poked a little fun at it as well online. I mean, it's funny. But at the same time, like, I don't understand why they weren't better prepared for that. I don't know why they just didn't have proper cameras or whatever. Because the Zello, the guys who were taking footage and pictures for Zello, they had proper DSLRs. They weren't running around with iPhone 6s taking pictures, you know, or their Galaxy 3s or whatever. Anyway, it was a good event. It was fun. And that led into Bound for Glory, the very next night, which I thought was a very, very solid pay-per-view. I wouldn't call it my favorite pay-per-view of the year. I'm going to be frank, outside of a couple of spots, a couple of events, I will not remember much of it. But we had a good time watching it. Kristen and I watched it together, and I thought it was a good show. Started off with the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, where basically Impact talent went into the Battle Royal, and whoever was left standing could challenge for whatever title they wanted to challenge for. And they had everyone in here. They had men and women. Had Kylie Ray show up as a surprise as well, which was fantastic. So women were in there as well. We had Jordan Grace. We had Jessica Havoc, Rosemary, and I feel like I'm missing someone. Kiera Hogan was in there as well. Basically, the rest of the male locker room was in there as well. We had Madman Fulton, who had a very good showing. Eddie Edwards won not the pay-per-view, but the Battle Royal. He was in the first entrance. He not only did he win, he had the Iron Man performance. He stayed the entire duration, the entire 33 minutes or so of the Battle Royal. So good on him. I don't know why Shira is back in Impact. He's a load. We had the Knockouts title match as well. Champion Taya Valkyrie defended successfully against Tenille Dashwood. I thought this was okay. At some points, I kind of felt like Tenille was unmotivated. But it was fine. It was okay. Not Tenille, but Taya is your undefeated, not undefeated, but she's the longest reigning Knockouts champion right up to this point. Yeah, so good for her, right? Good for her. We're going to see what's going to happen next. I mean, actually, even today, Kristen was on the media call where one dude called in and asked Taya what the size of her penis was, which was very, very strange. But on top of that, Kristen actually got to talk to Taya and asked her, basically what's next for you, Taya? You've run through the entire women's division, what's left? Are you going to move on to other titles. And without saying it explicitly, she said, hey, bring anyone on. I'm good for it. And she's had intergender matches before. So I really dig how Impact is leaning into the intergender stuff. I really thought that the Sami Callihan, Tessa Blanchard feud was going to be a one-time thing. They were going to blow it off and that would be it. But no, they're really leaning hard into it. The Battle Royal, and including all the women as well. I'm digging this, you know. And Chris and I were talking about it earlier today. You know, what should Impact do? Should they just do away with gender divisions and just be like, okay, well, a la Shikara, where everyone fights everyone, you know? Should we just go down that route? Or should, Kristen brought up a really cool point here, which I thought was really interesting. Since Tessa had fought for the X Division title at Bound for Glory, why not turn the X Division into your intergender division without actually calling it as such, but being that title very clearly, very, very explicitly being that title could be held by either a man or a woman, and they could you can fight you can fight the other gender for it. I thought that was interesting. That was very, very interesting. And I think, was it Scott D'Amore who said that he had plans maybe for the tag titles, Kristen?
Not really plans, but he said that they're not exclusively for men, and that there's nothing stopping two women from getting together and going after that. They're the Impact World Tag Team Champions. That there's no woman that's going to be stopped from that. So there's some hinting, but he didn't explicitly say that he had plans for it.
Right. Yeah. Whereas at Bound for Glory, when we were at All Glory, he said that he wants to put Jordynne Grace and Tessa Blanchard in a match for the world tag team title. So that'd be interesting. I like that. After that, we had the North, who successfully defended their titles against Rich Swann and Willie Mack, and RVD and Rhino. RVD, who turned on Rhino. Nothing like a good old-fashioned ECW feud in 2019 on the cusp of a new decade of the 2000s. Nothing like going back to 1995. It's fantastic. I mean, I guess it'll be interesting, but I feel like there's so much more. There are so many more compelling wrestlers and great things that Impact is doing than to really focus on RVD and Rhino. But, you know, it's fine. I'm okay with that. My main takeaway from this tag team triple threat match is that the North are fantastic. And they give them another couple of months, couple of high profile wins, and they are going to be entered into the conversation of World's Best Tag Team. There would be a case to be made for them right now, but they're just really, really, really good. Such a good pairing. Michael Elgin defeated Marufuji in a really solid Japanese style, strong, let's beat the shit out of each other while dropping each other on our heads match. It was good stuff. It spoke to me. It was right up there. It was hard hitting. I think the crowd got into it more towards the end, which is typical. Like, I really feel like they ran a Japanese style match here. You know, a very slow build at the beginning. I mean, the match lasted close to 20 minutes. So, you know, they took their time at first, didn't pull out all the crazy stuff, but then once we got into that last third, everything just started piling on top of each other. Those strikes that they started delivering on each other. I mean, it was fantastic stuff. I loved it. It was a great match. One of my favorite matches. It was, to me, match of the night. Despite the fact that we had the X Division ladder match, where we had Daga, actually the champion Jake Christ, who actually looked like the love child of former WWE wrestler Mordecai and Guy Fieri. Tessa Blanchard was in the match. Her boyfriend Daga was there as well. Ace Romero was in the match as well. This was a great match. It was your spots were there. This was your good old fashioned X Division match. It was crazy. Oh, and Ace Austin, of course, because Ace Austin won, right? Ace Austin defeated Jake Chris. That's it. Tessa Blanchard. I'm going through my notes here. Dagon Ace Romero. I thought this was great. I thought this was fantastic. Even with the great tease of Tessa winning the title, which was amazing. That insane spot where Romero just flew off the ladder and reduced a table to complete and utter splinters. That was crazy. It was a fantastic match. Lots of high action here. I dug it. Ace Austin, of course, I think everyone wanted Tessa to win, but Ace Austin's been doing good work, and he did great work here. He shone. He deserved it. You can't really contest you can't really contest it on those grounds. Otherwise, it's just like, hey, I would have really liked Tessa to win. Moose versus Ken Shamrock was definitely the low light of the evening. I thought it was what it was. I mean, Ken Shamrock, as good as he looked, he's just been out of it for a while. Moose is good, carried him as much as he could, but I think this match suffered from poor positioning on the card because you had Elgin and Marufuji followed by the X Division match, which are two excellent matches. How is Moose and Shamrock going to follow up on this on any level? I think the angle with Trig was mistimed. It was poor. It was poorly executed. Didn't like it. Overbooked. Didn't like it. Blech. And then the Impact World Championship had Brian Cage successfully defend his title against Sami Callihan in a very, very odd booking decision. Perhaps an even weirder decision than the one Brian Cage had to dress up in that really cheap Weapon X costume. It did not look good. I know a lot of WWE stars come out in superhero-inspired gear, but I mean, that looked like it was just holding together with hot glue. I thought it was a good, fun toys match, but like in a lot of these circumstances, I feel like they go to the toys too soon and they go to the blood too soon. Like Callahan, I think he bled within the first 2 minutes. He got opened up, but Cage bit him, I think, if I remember correctly, and then he went for his costume, his Weapon X costume, and got his Wolverine claws, and then Kim sliced. And Kristen and I were like, oh no, this is so corny. No. So that took me out of it. Because I like hardcore matches. I just don't like when they go really, really, really fast, really quickly to the plunder, essentially. And really strange that they didn't put the title on Callahan. I thought this was the moment to do it. I don't know when they're going to do it then. Very, very strange. But good show. I think it's worth a watch. I think the X Division match and Elgin versus Marufuji are fantastic matches. Definitely worth the time to go check it out. If you can't watch all of it, those are the two matches you should see. It's the kind that you need to go out of your way to watch. And see what Everything Pro Wrestling says that X Division ladder match, given the eye single critical sting, says the North is getting the LAX push, and I'm not mad at it. No, and what's interesting even is, Impact is taking great pleasure in showing that the North ended the Impact careers of LAX. We've seen, they replayed that at Bound for Glory. They replayed it this Tuesday on their, their first access show, their recap show that they had. At least I watched it on Twitch. They're taking great pleasure in just like, hey, by the way, those new guys that just ended up in AEW, yeah, they came from here and we kicked them out. And that's fine. I mean, that's cool, right? That's the game. That's what you do. Critical Sting says, Callahan is getting a rematch in a steel cage. And Michael Stepney says, and that's where Callahan will win the title. Oh, I hope so. That'd be nice. Kristen says, I think they're building her being Tessa, Kristen. They're building her in a very, very smart way. When she does get that title, it's going to be talked about forever. And yeah, and it actually, you know what? It makes a lot of sense for Tessa to go after the X title, the X Division title, and take it off of Ace Austin, because Ace Austin is he's a little punk. He's a little misogynistic little son of a bitch, a little sexist little chump. So it would make it even makes double sense for her to go after him on that level. I'd like that. And Benoit says, meanwhile, ROH is not doing so good. I'm going to talk about Ring of Honor on the Patreon only stream, because I'm going to be talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling of America, and I have some thoughts on how New Japan Ring of Honor, might fit into those plans. So come join me in just a few minutes. We're going to jump on to the Patreon exclusive live stream. Come join us over there. You just head on over to patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. You come in as a power pal, and you can join the fun, or you can just show your support as well at the basic level, the friend of the show level, where you can just show a little support, or contribute to the show. What I do here every Thursday, the surprise Sunday, not just Sunday, the surprise streams that I do, the prediction shows, and I've got some things cooking in the old noodle at the same time. So if you just want to support what I do here, that's fantastic, and that's our entry level right there. So you can go check it out. Patreon.com/MrWarrenHayes. Folks, I'm going to wrap this one up because I feel like it could go longer, but since I'm in the Midwest, because since I'm in the Midwest, I'm on a different time zone, so I feel like my energy level is still really high. I told you guys last week, I read that one of the ways to get more successful on the internet is to do memeable things, such as constantly mispronouncing things. I want to thank everyone, young and old, who joined us in the chat tonight. Thank you very much for watching on your own time or listening on your podcast app. I appreciate it a great deal. It was a fun time, fun evening. We will see you. Come and join me on Fightful tomorrow after SmackDown for the post show. And otherwise, I will see you next time.